Alright, so I'm going to start by making this Helix video on how to use Helix and how to upload projects to Helix so you can turn them in and I can see your code. First thing you're going to do is go to brianmarshall.com and click on the quick links and click Helix Team Hub, where you'll log in after you create an account. I'm logged in and I want to create a new project. Okay, so we're going to create a project and we can call it, we'll just call it homework. Okay, so click this button, new project, homework, and create the project. Now when we're in homework, we can see that we have repositories. So we go into the repositories. There's no real repositories made, so we want to add a new repository. For this repository, we're going to call it assign02 and click create. No spaces, all lowercase. At this point, we have a blank repository, a place for our code to go. So what we want to do is copy the clone URL. So we highlight that, Control-C will copy it. If you're on a Mac, I think it's Command-C. At this point, we want to go to our GitHub desktop. GitHub desktop. When you fire it up, this is what it looks like. There's not a whole lot going on, but what you want to do is come over here to clone a repository. So you click clone a repository. Which one you're going to pick? You're not going to pick this github.com. Github.com, the reason why I don't like it is everything is public unless you pay. With Helix, everything is private. So we're going to click on the URL and we're going to paste it in. But what we need to do before we go past this step is click on the local path. So we want to choose where our files are going to be stored. So we click our where our files are, homework, and the key is to not have the folder already created. So you want to create this Helix repository and clone it before you do the work. Okay, for right now. So I'm going to right click on this assign to and I'm going to delete it. Yes. And I'm actually going to select the homework folder. Okay. You'll notice in the path it's going to say G PHP homework assign02. Yours could say Dropbox or GitHub or whatever you decide to put there, but it needs to be homework assign02. And it will make its own folder. If the folder already existed, it'll try to make a second folder called assignment02, and that's bad. It'll also throw an error. It already exists. So just remove it from there. Okay? And then you click clone. It clones it. It might ask for your username and password. Okay? So I'm going to go up. I'm going to grab my username and password, which I store in my password system. Paste that in. And I'm going to grab it again. I'm using, for those of you that like password systems, this one's called OnePass. It's fantastic. I'm going to paste this in here and click save and retry. And now from now on, that should be. You'll notice that there's nothing in that folder. So now if I fire up my Atom, I'm going to make a new project. And this project is going to be specifically for assignment number 2. So I go File, Add, Project Folder. So now I'm going to browse to where I just created that folder in my homework, in my assignment 02, select the folder, and now I have my project folder. You'll see a little .git folder here. The dot means it's hidden, okay? And the Git is the name of the folder, and inside there you'll see some hooks and some other things that the GitHub software uses to manage your product. Now, GitHub, Helix, the repository, all that's trying to do is version control your code. Okay, and let me show you. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go into Packages and Project Manager, and I'm going to save this project as assign02 so I can get back to it. Okay, now I want to create a new file. So new file, and I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to save that, and I'm going to save it as index.php, and in that file I'm just going to say hello Mato. I'm going to save it. Notice I don't have this going up to my remote yet. You obviously can do that, okay? But what I want to show you is what happens on the GitHub desktop. If I go back to the GitHub desktop, it's going to say, hey, you made a change. So I come down here and I can say something like, hey, this was my first change. You got to make a comment, and you're going to commit it to the master, okay? So that doesn't really do it yet, because if I go out to the web, it's still not there. If I look at my repository, it's going to say in my assignment 02, there's no files out here yet. So what I want to do is go back to my GitHub desktop after I've made my change. So let's make another change. Let's say Brian Marshall, and I click save. Now I've made a second change. I can go out to my GitHub host. So I said added name, and then I commit to that also. So now I've got 2 that are committed. What I need to do is I make a bunch of changes. I need to make sure I publish it. So I'm going to go out there and publish it. And it's going to send it all out to my Helix area. Let's just go look and see what's happened on Helix. Now if I click on the repository and look at it under assignment 2, you'll notice I have my file. So my file was pushed out to my repository. I can actually look at my file and it will say hello Mato and Brian Marshall. So that's out there. Now let's make a change. Let's add, this is a PHP course. I'm just adding some text, PHP course. Save it. And I added some text. So I'm just adding a little bit of a comment to help me understand. And I push that out there. Okay. Now let's go back out and look at it again. And I refresh this page. Repositories, assignment 02, index. And there's my refresh that went out. At this point, we are finished with updating it, and all you'll need to turn into me is your username and password so I can come out here and look. And what I'll be able to do is look at the assignment, and I'll be able to say when was it edited last, and that needs to be before it is due. So this is going to tell me when it was due and what happened, and I should also be able to look at the whole history and find out when you uploaded things, and then I'll be able to go in here and grade your code. Okay, so you'll want your whole assignment 2 to come up here, and if you have any questions, obviously you can email me your username and password, and I'll tell you if you've done it correctly. So upload your username and password to assignment number 2 on D2L, and that is technically how you use Helix.